Okay, greetings, brothers and sisters. So, I didn't know while I was making this movie, I saw this image, which I'll get into this cartoon. And it just is the personification of everything to do with Jeffrey Epstein and everything that we know. It also, it's brutal for Trump. Trump should have no supporters at this point from everything he's done and all the stuff, his ties with Epstein. But there's still 20% of the population is, just horrible, just oblivious. It comes towards the end of the video, but it all builds to that. So there's a lot here. This is kind of one of the sort of quintessential Jeffrey Epstein Trump connection videos, and I've made a bunch of them. But without further ado, here it is. Okay, greetings, brothers and sisters. This is mostly going to be about Trump's implosion here. It's really bad. And I saw this. This is the video Forbes put up of a press conference they tried to do, the Republican leadership, to distract from the book. And I don't think anybody asked them about the book, must have been like they had handpicked reporters. Because I didn't watch the whole thing. They didn't have the ability to search the transcript, and I'll look again when I'm done with this part. So this was from today is September 10th, an almost anonymous day. And it is a Wednesday. And so this was from yesterday when the news was coming out about Trump's letter, which was yesterday, was Tuesday when the news sort of broke. And Trump is a denial, and I'll get into that. But this guy says, and the other big story is Israel going into Qatar, which Trump says he's pissed about, which I'll show you that because that's part of the clip. But there's this thing that happened where he says this. It's going to take a little while to develop.
All driving in, walking in here, Israel struck Qatar to take out Hamas leadership. I'm curious if any of you think that whoever survives there should be evicted from Qatar.
I don't know anything about that development. That's news to me. I've been a little busy the last couple hours.
He doesn't know anything about that or the Trump thing, even though those are the two biggest stories. When you're a politician, you have to get it out in front of things. So when big news breaks, they come running to you and say, hey, this big news thing just happened. And then you have to come up with a plan on what, not just a plan, you have to talk to the party leadership and find out how you're going to handle this thing. There's going to be talking points, right? And it's what sucks about politics because nobody has a human, genuine reaction but Trump. Trump is the only one who gets to have just his, and even now, Trump, of course, doesn't do that. He says, I'm hearing about this for the first time from you. So that gives them time. I'm just hearing about this. Let me find out more. See, I don't even know if you guys are just fake news and just making something up. So let me find out what the real story is. But Trump does it all the time. He did it just yesterday, this guy, Mike Johnson. Mike Johnson. And so he just did it yesterday with the thing to do with, he did the day he's talking right here, or the night before when the Democrats released, what she should know the Democrats were going to release this because they all had access to it, right? They were requested it. The book with Trump's weird note to Jeffrey Epstein, which is a whole thing we'll get into today. But, it sucks that they have to figure out, it's a criminal mentality. Let's get our story straight. That's what criminals do. Let's get our story straight. So news breaks, and the U.S. has a very dysfunctional relationship with Israel. They don't want to piss Israel off for whatever reason. The politicians don't. Individual politicians. And so, Israel has them in various ways, owns them all, Trump particularly. They don't want to piss Israel off, and yet, they don't want to get like completely embarrassed by Israel, Israel's just embarrassing these fucking politicians they own right now. Israel's just doing shit because this thing with Qatar is fucked up, and and they have a lot of money over there. There's oil. There's the whole thing, And so they're embarrassing America all the time by not listening to Trump and just doing whatever the fuck they want, right? They're like going rogue.
We'll have to see how that plays out. I mean, look. I was in Israel myself a few weeks ago in early August. It's a very dangerous time there, and they have enemies encamped around them, and they're trying to bring that to a peace as well. But Hamas, by anybody who looks at this reasonably, and in my view, this is my personal view that
Anybody look at this reasonably would say, why is Hamas doing what Hamas is doing? Like when you write a villain in a story, when you write villains, like let's say you're writing a fictional story, and the villains, like when you see TV shows and movies where villains are just running up to get their ass kicked by this hero, and they don't ever like use their advantage of it's 20 villains against one hero, and yet the hero is able to kick all their asses because the villains just are NPCs that are sitting there waiting to be killed because they're hired stunt people waiting to get their ass kicked by the star because it's written that way, right? And so, but villains wouldn't act that way. And, oftentimes heroes wouldn't act that way either, but particularly the villains. And when villains do things in a TV show or movie that don't make any sense, it kind of wrecks the story because you're like, why would they do that? What's their motivation for doing that, right? Like you see this with horror movies a lot, or movies where there's somebody who gets so obsessed with somebody else, they act in a way that makes no sense at all. Only because they have no inclination for self-preservation. They're not concerned about their own personal well-being. They are more focused on hatred and killing the good guy and the people than they are their own self-preservation. That's what the idea of suicide bombers came into play. And that's, it's hard to get somebody to do something like that, right? Because people have self-preservation. Like it's hard to convince somebody to throw away their own, life and whatever it is for something that, I mean, the hatred has to be like incredible, and it's not usually that way. People hate, but only on a level of where they don't want to give up their own. That's why there's laws and shit like that, right? So, when you think about Hamas, and this guy just said, if you think about this reasonably, Hamas, doing what they're doing, has allowed Israel to basically destroy Gaza and kill hundreds of thousands of Palestinian people and take over that region. And so Israel has always wanted to do that. And they're lying about them not, right? It's a land grab. And I mean, Trump wants Greenland and, whatever else, the Panama Canal. Israeli certainly wants the Gaza Strip. The Gaza Strip is beautiful beachfront property, and they even made a video about it, which I often show you guys, the Trump video. And they didn't make a video, but Trump posted that video of Trump turning into Gaza to Trump Gaza, right? Like him having a big luxury hotel there. And they have natural resources. They have oil and natural gas off the shoreline, which they can, they could fund that small region. They could be really rich, the Palestinian people. But Israel won't let them cultivate that, won't let them harvest those resources. And so, like, it's illogical the way that Israel blames everything on Hamas and the way Hamas acts are not logical. There's no self-preservation. So you say, all right, then what's the possible, more logical story? The more logical story is that Hamas is run by Israel, that they are doing what Israel wants because they're Israel's asset. And so that is, Israel gets to do whatever they want and blame it on Hamas, right? The Hamas holes.
Hamas has to be eradicated. You've got to remove that threat on the immediate border, frankly, within the bounds of Israel. And I'm not sure about that development. We'll have to see. I'll reserve judgment to talk about that. But I would say with regard to the crime stats, it's a very good question, and not a rhetorical one. I mean, these mayors in these big blue cities have to ask this question, and I think their voters and the residents and the law-abiding citizens in all these cities should be asking local leadership, how long are you going to put up with this? When are you going to put your foot down and do the right thing, the common sense thing, the thing that is wildly popular with anybody you do ask them? Do you want do you want to reduce carjackings by 85% in your?
He's talking about martial law. He's saying, do you want martial law? And the majority of people say yes. But he's not framing the question that way. He's talking about, do you want to reduce crime? Sure. Well, let's get rid of all the people. Fucking yeah. Like, you could reduce crime. You could drop a bomb on all the cities. That would reduce crime. So, like, it's the method. It's the method that people have a problem with.
City, because that's what's happened in D.C. since President Trump got involved. Everybody will look at you and say, of course, right? Do you want to reduce robberies by 25 to 30%, which is what's happening in D.C.? Of course. I mean, murders are down dramatically. It makes a big difference. It's quality of life. We live in the greatest nation in the history of the world. We have the greatest capital in all of the world. And we need to show that. We need to put that on display. And we need to confirm to the American people that they do not need to fear for their lives when they drive to the grocery store or they pick up their son or daughter from school. This is common sense, and I cannot for the life of me understand how the Democrats think this is some sort of winning political message. Yield, man. Let the troops come into your city and show how crime can be reduced. It's a morale boost.
Let the troops come into your city. He's really trying to sell you that let the troops come into your city. Let the troops come into your fucking city. This is what this motherfucker just said. Let the troops come into your city. This is what Trump's people are pushing. Now, this guy didn't run on martial law, nor did Trump or anyone else. None of these people said that they wanted martial law above all things. Nobody said that. There was never that was never said. Let the troops come into your city. Like, was that under Donald Trump for president? Let the troops come into your city. Was that a slogan? Let the troops come into your city. Let them. Just let fucking troops come in. This is posse comitatus. It's one of the principles that the founding fathers did not want. And he's saying it's going to reduce crime up until the point where soldiers start raping women and stealing from grocery stores and beating people up in the street, which is what always happens when there's martial law. You can, that's what happens. Like the troops just come in and do whatever the fuck they want. And the people can't do anything about it because you're facing a military. And they're not trained to do police type things. They come out and they know how to kill people. They know how to occupy and kill people and take over land acquisition, but they don't know how to, deal with domestic disputes and shit like that. And these are lesser trained people who are in the National Guard. And, who are maybe more amped up and who are, whatever they are. And so this is not a fucking solution. It never was. There's a reason why you don't put your own troops on the streets in the, whatever it is, unless there's some horrible situation. Like, it has to be, like, beyond anything that's going on now. And so nobody would have campaigned on this because it's not a real, it's a fucked up thing, right? And so, I heard this guy, whatever his name is, the one Republican guy who's all aboard this Jeffrey Epstein thing. And I don't think I have it here. I think I watched it on the news. Thomas Massey. And he said that all these guys are scared of Trump's political machine. But I think that it's more than that. I think they're getting orders from the controllers to back Trump's bullshit here. Because this is bullshit, right? And so, like, knowing this right now, the martial law thing, let the troops come into your city, right? Fucking, so there's that. Okay, so here's Trump's denial, which is really incriminating because how you deny something's important, right? So,
Chief, and we all work together, and the outcome is really spectacular.
It's spectacular.
We have a capital that's very, very safe right now.
Mr. President, about the Israeli strike earlier today.
Well, I'm not thrilled. I'm not thrilled about it. I don't have to do that. I'm not thrilled about the whole situation. It's not a good situation. But I will say this: we want the hostages back, but we are not thrilled about the way that went down today.
You were caught by surprise.
I'm never surprised by anything, especially when it comes to the Middle East.
How did you learn about this?
I'll be giving a full statement tomorrow, but I would tell you this: I was very unhappy about it. Very unhappy about every aspect
Qatar is negotiating peace between Hamas, like, which doesn't exist. They're involved in the peace process. So Qatar, and so this is bad. And Israel's just saying "fuck you" to everybody, and they're embarrassing the U.S. because every time they do something, the U.S. is also to blame. Everybody knows the only reason they can do this is because the U.S. is backing them, and they're just they don't even ask Trump anymore. They just do shit, and they're like fuck you to him because they own this motherfucker, right? Probably because of maybe even the Jeffrey Epstein stuff. Because if Jeffrey Epstein had shit on Trump, then Mossad has it, right? And they probably couldn't believe their luck when this guy became fucking president, right? Like, they own this guy more than anything else.
We got to get the hostages back. But I was very unhappy about the way that went down.
Mr. President, when do you plan to speak to Putin? I mean, you said soon. Is that going to happen this week?
Yeah,
So he has these two clowns next to him, right?
You signed the Jeffrey Epstein birthday letter
it's
that
not my signature, and it's not the way I speak.
So that's not a denial, right? So you understand the legalese here. Trump does. Trump has been involved more in legal actions than any other human being. He's sued more people. He's been sued. He's always, he's very litigious. He's had a team of lawyers, and he's done a lot of criminal shit, right? And so he didn't deny it and say, yeah, I didn't do that. That's not true. That's fake. They're lying. I didn't do that. It's not mine. He said, that's not my signature. And I don't speak like that. And so that's not denying it. Like, so he was asked if is it yours? No, it's not. It's not mine. No, not mine at all. Which he'd easily lie about, but this thing's going to go into some legal action. And then, he's going to have to perjure himself, right?
letter
It's
that
not my signature, and it's not the way I speak. And anybody that's covered me for a long time, no, that's not my language. It's nonsense. And frankly, you're wasting your time. All you do is trying to get off the great success of D.C. and about 200 other things we've done that are so successful. This is a great, great success, and we have so many. I don't think any president in their first 8 months has had anywhere near the success that we've had.
So again, usually what you do is try to accuse somebody else of doing the same thing. Like, hey, that's Bill Clinton's letter, right? Like you don't defend yourself, you attack. But he says anybody who's been covering knows me. That's not my language. Well, it sounds kind of like weird shit that you would say. Like, he's very weird socially. He says weird shit. And so the first part, which I covered yesterday, in 2002, he was asked to give a statement to a publication, and that's where he said Jeffrey Epstein was a terrific guy, and he likes young women. He likes beautiful women almost as much as Trump does, and he likes them on the young side. And so Trump said that as a quote. That's the one quote they have from Trump in the whole article. And it's a damning quote. It makes Trump guilty by association. They're best buddies. And so the following year, Ghislaine Maxwell asked all of Trump's big, important friends to send him a little birthday note. And Trump sent him something because she would have asked him. They didn't have a falling out till 2007 when Jeffrey Epstein was accused of all these things, right, when the criminal stuff happened. So they were still good back then. And so this is what Trump wrote. And so he had to write something, and they would have something from Trump in the book, and this is what it is. And so the problem here is, well, I'll show you this more when we get to this other report. But, that's what guilty fucking people say. They don't deny something. They say, well, that doesn't sound like me. Yeah, but it is you, right? That's not my signature. So let's cover that shit here. So Trump himself wouldn't say, no, it's not me. It's not my thing. It doesn't sound like me. That's not my signature. That's what they're willing to put down. And so we're going to go. I got like a couple really great little video clips here from the various news outlets that's going to be great to watch. But let's see what this plastic surgery, she's only in her 20s and she's probably had, I don't know, multiple plastic, I don't know how many, 10 or 15 plastic surgeries, right?
You said the Epstein documents are a hoax that Democrats are perpetrating against the president. You've said he didn't sign that check, that he didn't sign the birthday card that he allegedly signed. So what is the theory, since these documents came from the Epstein estate? Who is, I guess, in your view, faking these documents?
I did not say the documents are a hoax. I said the entire narrative surrounding Jeffrey Epstein right now that is absorbing many of the liberal cable channels on television is a hoax that is being perpetuated by opportunistic Democrats like Ro Khanna and the others whom you saw on that press conference outside of Capitol Hill, who are trying to push this hoax against the President of the United States.
What exactly is the hoax? I'm just trying to understand what's fake. What's fake is not the
The
documents.
hoax
then?
is the Democrats pretending to care about victims of crime when they do not care about
We're
victims
going to get to this, so you're going to see this again, because
of crime, when they have done nothing to solve crimes, when they have done nothing to lock up child pedophiles and child rapists across the country, and when they are now using victims as political props to try and, again, smear the President of the United States.
Well, you're calling those victims crisis actors? Is that what you're... Political props.
And drag on this bad story about him. It is a distraction. The Democrats view this story as nothing more than an attempt to distract from the accomplishments and the achievements of this administration. And that is what we mean when we call it a hoax.
So you didn't mean that the letter was a hoax. She asked you straight up. All right, so that's fucked up, right? Okay, I have a perspective on this I'm going to say in just a moment about what happened with Trump and this whole thing. But I want to get to Trump's... There's an Aaron Burnett video I'm going to show you next. So let's start off here. This is when it first happened. This is like, right after I started covering this stuff for my video yesterday. This came out, right?
You can now see Jeffrey Epstein's birthday book, a collection of wishes allegedly from prominent CEOs, businessmen, and presidents, compiled for the child sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein's 50th birthday back in 2003. It was compiled by convicted sex trafficker Ghislaine Maxwell, I should add that. Well, what you're looking at now is what appears to be President Trump's name. The White House says what you're looking at is fake. It says the signatures don't match, pointing to the official documents that you see there on the left. You can also see how Trump signed letters back then, back in the 90s. One to Rudy Giuliani, one to Larry King, when he signed with just his first name. This is a pretty major development, and it came from...
They're trying to say this is not that, but everything in there is pixelated. I mean, it looks just like that, right? They're saying that somebody forged his name and that the Democrats were creative enough. So their whole thing is tied to the signature, right? That he didn't sign that, but it looks pretty much exactly like his signature. This is more pixelated, right? But, that's the whole thing. That's your whole defense. They're not denying it. They're not saying... Now, I didn't see her... I don't know if it's somewhere else that the fake Barbie truther, the fake Christian Barbie truther, said, Carolyn Levitt said, no, that's a hoax. It's a fake letter. She said that we're not saying the documents are fake. We're saying that this whole movement to get Trump is fake. And Trump said, that's not my signature and I don't talk like that. Well, that's not a fucking denial either, brah. So what is it, right? So did he do it or not? So they didn't even deny it yet. And, because this may go into some legal situation where Trump doesn't want to perjure himself. This is the kind of thing that what you say when there's, you want to create doubt. Like that, the fact that this is pixelated means that it is deteriorated or, whatever it is, right? This is a more firm, but it's the exact same. That's his signature. Like they want to create doubt because that's all they got, right? Because the reality, let's go to the Aaron Burnett thing because that's where I want to get into this new observation on my part. So this is on 000. This is, the beginning of this video. CNN did this to Aaron Burnett here. I didn't do it.
More Epstein documents about to be released. The Epstein estate, right now as I speak, preparing to hand over more information to the House Oversight Committee. And I'm going to speak with the top Democrat on that committee in just a moment about what they're expecting and when. It comes as the White House press secretary is still calling all of this a hoax.
And why are the Democrats all of a sudden caring about this? It's because they are desperately trying to concoct a hoax to smear the President of the United States.
Okay, so I didn't know what she was going to say in that other clip, which I should have because I saw this part already. I didn't see this part. I saw the part that's about to come here. It was on, I saw it on TV last night. I'm glad they put it up here.
Epstein's crimes, as we say every time this story happens, is and were not a hoax. They were disgusting and warrant full investigation, and anyone who knew about them, was aware of them, or participated in them should be held to account. But don't take our word for it. Listen to the victims.
We are tired of looking at the news and seeing Jeffrey Epstein's name and saying that this is a hoax. We are tired of it.
Mr. President Donald J. Trump, I am a registered Republican, not that that matters because this is not political. However, I cordially invite you to the Capitol to meet me in person so you can understand this is not a hoax. We are real human beings. This is real trauma.
Haley Robson, who you just heard right there, will be my guest. She is coming up in just a few moments. But the White House did not stop there in trying to make this a mere political fight and trying to make this about Democrats versus Republicans.
They could have cared about those victims 4 years ago. When Joe Biden was in office, they could have pushed for transparency then.
Now that is true.
So that's important. Not that important, but Erin Burnett admitting that that was true, right? The Democrats only care about this because it's political. She didn't say that, but she's basically saying that. Because they didn't. This was never a Democratic issue. That's why it's so fucked up. I never once heard one Democrat. There's a clip out there. If I have the time in some other video, I'll find it. But it's Jimmy Kimmel mocking Aaron Rodgers because of the Epstein list, saying the Epstein list doesn't exist, and that Aaron Rodgers is cuckoo, the kind of bullshit fake comedies, bad comedy Jimmy Kimmel does. And now, of course, Jimmy Kimmel's all about it. And so they're politicizing this whole thing. CNN, MSNBC, and certainly the Democratic Party. Someone like Marjorie Taylor Greene or other people who've been around for a while. Again, not that she's great, but they've been pushing this for a while. And so the Democrats are making this political. But that doesn't mean that Trump wasn't best friends with Jeffrey Epstein. According to Trump's one of his business handlers, who had a conversation with Trump saying this guy is bad for you. And he came on, Erin Burnett or one of these shows and said, this was a guy who worked for Trump. He was high up in Trump's company. And he had to intervene because he thought the relationship was toxic. And he said that they were besties, as did Jeffrey Epstein's brother, saying that they were always together. And he was as good a friend as Jeffrey Epstein had. And so they were pals. And all the evidence shows that for 20 years, Trump and Jeffrey Epstein were pals. And they both had, these pervy attitudes towards young women. Trump saying what he said about his daughter, saying what he said about his ability to go backstage and these things, right? So Erin Burnett admitted, yeah, that's true. We didn't cover this before, but now we know that you're in it, which they should have known all along. It's bad reporting. They could have stopped Trump's presidency with this thing. They could have pressed him as a candidate when he would have had to answer these things. They could have asked these questions in debates. They could have pushed Trump into, they could have they could have owned Jeffrey Epstein as an issue, and they could have won over. Kamala Harris could have said, let's release everything. And they could have, as president, have Joe Biden release shit. They could have had this letter, showing Trump's association. They could have had this during the campaign. And so either they were told not to, or they were scared to because Mossad and, whoever else is involved with this thing. But, now they are, right? And it doesn't make Trump less guilty just because they suck, right? Just because they're opportunists.
But somebody was pushing then for transparency, right? Somebody who is not pushing for it now, somebody who is blocking it now. And that somebody is Republicans, and specifically Republicans who are very close to Trump.
How is it that my father could be convicted of 34 crimes, but no one on Epstein's list has even been brought to light.
Seriously, we need to release the Epstein list. That is an important thing.
Put on your big boy pants and let us know who the pedophiles are.
What the hell are they hiding with Jeffrey Epstein?
Okay, so here's my, something I don't know if I've said this before, at least not this way. And so we know that Trump was like, and I've showed you the clips. I have I don't even know if I have it in a meme, but I have it in a compilation where, you've seen it, where Trump went on that Fox News interview. And he said, well, the Epstein thing, not as much as Kennedy. And, he was hedging. Trump was never a pro-Epstein release guy. But Trump couldn't say to any of these people, because, Trump has, his relationships end badly. So Trump couldn't call them in and said, guess what? I have exposure on this. Shut the fuck up on Epstein. Stop saying we're going to do this, because if we do this, I'm fucked. Like, stop pushing. He couldn't call his dopey son in there, even his son. Because Trump didn't want to admit it out loud, because he doesn't, good criminals know, smart criminals, and Trump is good at being a criminal, know, how to not to be, plausible deniability. And if Trump has conversations with these people, and they, the things go south on him, like he has all his friends, all his people, they turn on each other all the time. I had my book, The Choice, I had a chapter called, Venomous Creatures or something like this. All these people are venomous creatures, all the people in the royal family, all the people in politics, all the business people. They're all filled with venom, and they all have venom, and they can't wait to stab somebody in the back and step over them and get to a higher position. Everybody who's on top knows that the people who are in their inner circle can't wait for them to be usurped and then, them taking over, right? Like it happens all the fucking time. And Trump is well aware of this because this is how he is. And so he doesn't trust any of the people around him because he knows that, they'll stab him in the back the same way he'll stab them in the back. He throws people under the bus all the time. And so Trump couldn't tell them, I'm fucked with this Epstein, shut the fuck up. This is not our issue. Like, we're never going to do this. But they all made promises, and they talked about it, and they were led to believe, Trumpers were led to believe Trump was on board with this, especially when he put these people, Pam Bondi and Prakash Patel and all these people into prominent positions. And so, they thought Trump was on board, but he wasn't, because they made shit up all the time. They always believe Trump is with them. But Trump couldn't tell them, I'm fucked on this thing. And even then he can't say that, but now all of a sudden it's a hoax. Like Trump didn't campaign on saying it was a hoax. But if the Democrats and the fucking media had seized this opportunity when Trump was running for president, he wouldn't be president right now. If this scandal broke like this, and when he was, in November, like October, not November, but over the summer, and they, Kamala Harris brought it up and said, yeah, let's release this thing, that Trump's involved. And then they went after him, and they would have known about this letter and all these other things. If once the media turned their attention to this, there's so much evidence that ties Jeffrey Epstein and Trump together. But they didn't. And so it's a fucked up thing. Like, who knows, when they were given permission to go after Trump. And I don't know if it's a distraction or whatever like's going on. I don't know if they just, whatever. I don't know what the reason is here. But they can. And they didn't before. And so,
those voices now, so many of them so quiet, are suddenly on the other side of this. Still, tonight, no one has been brought to light, as Don Jr. rightly demanded. So why is the White House now trying to block that same transparency that Trump's closest allies once fought so hard for? Well, is it perhaps because it now hits too close to home? Sure, there's Trump's signature on the letter in Jeffrey Epstein's book. Tip of the iceberg, perhaps. Trump's name on an oversized check featured in a photo showing Epstein joking about selling Trump a, quote, fully depreciated. Now, the White House says neither of those
fully depreciated woman
signatures are Trump's. And, of course, Trump hasn't been accused of wrongdoing in relation to Epstein's crimes. But despite years of calls for transparency from Trump's allies and an ongoing lack of transparency from the White House, Republicans are changing their tune, no longer calling for that same transparency and instead jumping on board with the easy bandwagon of quote-unquote Democratic hoax. But not all Republicans.
Here's the thing from Massey.
One Republican who has stood up for what is right here has his theory as to what's going on.
I don't think my colleagues are happy about covering up for pedophiles, but that's what's happening. And it's so sick and twisted. The reason they're doing it is because they're terrified of President Trump's political machine.
So him saying that, he's saying that these guys would rather let pedophiles walk than risk their political careers. And, which is true. Like, that's totally believable. But he's saying it. There's things they don't say. That the Republican Party they're so self-centered that they'll let Trump do anything than risk the wrath of the MAGA base, which we know. Like, that's fucking, that's where they're at. And so, but I think it's more than that. I think that the people that handle Trump are like, yeah, you guys are backing this shit because we want, they have to do this. They have to do martial law. This system is imploding, and Trump is the kind of asshole that they can blame all this shit on. When the system collapses, this is going to be Trump and the Republicans owning it. And the Democrats will be, complicit, but no one will have a choice. Because you won't have choices because there'll be fucking troops on the streets, right? Let the troops into your town.
This is common sense, and I cannot for the life of me understand how the Democrats think this is some sort of winning political message. Yield, man. Let the troops come into your city and show how crime can be reduced. It's a morale boost.
Yield, man. Let the troops come into your city.
So 2 things here. This is problem, reaction, solution, because, you create this idea of crime, and they didn't even do it in a way where it was bad as what happened in 2020 with the Antifa riots and the Black Lives Matter riots and all that shit. And then what happened January 6th and all that. Like, it's not as bad as all that, which was manufactured. And Trump was affected by that, right? Trump, lost control. And so now he's, he didn't employ National Guard during those things, and he lost control. And then everything that happened in the election, they were just taking it from him, right? And so, but people are against crime, but not against, but that doesn't mean they're for martial law. The founding fathers, one of the biggest thing was not to have a standing army, but to have a militia. That all Americans were going to have the Second Amendment. And I'm not saying I agree with this. Like, I'm not a patriot. I'm not a, historical fan, these things. But, it was better than tyranny. What their idea was that you wouldn't have a standing army, that everyone would be armed, and you could come together and form a militia. It was, by the people. Now, of course, people were a lot better back then. I can't, they had no idea what people would be like now. And so not everybody should own a gun. Like, you have the right to own a gun, but almost nobody's responsible enough and mature enough to own it. And certainly lots of people who didn't grow up in a gun culture. And the majority of people being obese, like, it was inherent that every man was able to use a rifle and knew some military strategy. So when they called you up in the militia to fight, whatever it was you were going to fight, that you were skilled and it was your duty to do that. But you can't ask these 400-pound dudes who, now these kids growing up in video games and things like this, who have no, they're just not capable of serving in the military. So, that was the original idea, no standing military. And the reason no standing military is the military always gets turned against the people. It just happens. And that's what's happening now. And it's just a made-up bullshit about crime, and Trump is being used as a tool to push in martial law because they know bad shit is coming. And so they want to have that already in place. But, what happens after a while is, like, you see in these villages, they'd put in troops, and the troops would start, raping the women and stealing food, and, they would just doing whatever they want because there was no other army to combat them. And the people would be abused by the troops, and the troops then became the criminals, but criminals without, having to hide anything, right? So a lot of these guys were horrible people because they had been through so many wars. They had PTSD, and that's why people don't want, don't want to hire veterans. They don't want people with PTSD and people who have killed people working at their place. They'll say support the troops, but They don't want that shit. So, that's the first part. The second part is Trump's like a child when he denies things. That's not my signature. He starts telling some little kid talking a mile a minute, and the mom and dad know that the kid's lying. Kid's just admitting to it without admitting to it, and that's what Trump's doing here. Everything that Trump does to cover up the Epstein thing is something a child would do if he was guilty of something and he wanted to stifle the story, and he had the power that the president has. So he's just like a little boy who's been caught doing something. All right, so let's get into how people are reacting to this. So this is Marsha Wallace from about the same time as Erin Burnett posted her thing.
I can't believe you're asking a question on Epstein at a time like this.
I don't understand why the Jeffrey Epstein case would be of interest to anybody.
It's really a Democrat hoax because they're trying to get people to talk about something that's totally irrelevant to the success that we've had as a nation since I've been president.
Hi again, everybody. It's now 5 o'clock in New York. Donald Trump has for months now.
When did you die? When exactly did you die and become a full-on cool? How long you been dead?
And pushing back against any questions about the Epstein files. And today, following the release of the letter Donald Trump allegedly wrote to Jeffrey Epstein for his 50th birthday book, complete with a risque drawing, Donald Trump has a new phrase for the scandal. He's calling it, quote, a dead issue. The birthday letter was part of the evidence that the House Oversight Committee was able to obtain from Jeffrey Epstein's estate, thanks to a subpoena. And as we reported in the last hour, it was not the only Trump-related document they have unearthed. There was also a photo showing Epstein with a giant check, supposedly from Donald Trump, that Jeffrey Epstein was getting in return for selling a, quote, fully depreciated woman, let that sink in, who the Wall Street Journal reports was at the time in her 20s, meaning that no matter what Donald Trump...
Jesus Christ. A depreciated 20-year-old because, or whatever, 22-year-old, because she's aged out from Jeffrey. I say this to my wife about it because it's obviously a joke that Epstein's saying this, like he wouldn't be, doing something like this, but he got some kind of check from Trump, and that's what Epstein said about it. Now, the problem for Trump is that Trump is talking to dummies, right? And dummies don't understand, they take things very literally. And so Trump is trying to campaign to the 20% of the dummies left that still believe in him. And I don't even know, his political machine, people are worried he's going to have a comeback. But things are going to go south on Trump, and then finally the Republicans will break free from him. And they hate the fucking guy. They hate licking his taint. They just fucking hate him. And they know, he's a lame duck president in 2 years. The Democrats are going to take over, and he's going to be lame duck anyway. And bad shit's already going down, and stuff with Israel, and we're on the cusp of World War III. There's probably going to be nuclear war before that happens. And, whatever happens with Trump, he's going to probably be denuded and just embarrassed and humiliated, and he's a blame. He's a fall guy. But, people who are dumb don't know the sophistication of, this is probably just a joke or whatever Jeffrey Epstein's saying. And the fact that Jeffrey Epstein would say that means that, there's a lot of talk between them about women. And, Trump has said that in the quote that he's not denying, where he said Jeffrey Epstein was a terrific guy. And that was quoted in a magazine that, that was, published years ago. And so, Trump is, so fucked on this. But she's going to give the numbers. That's why I'm showing you this piece.
Calls it, the reality is that the Jeffrey Epstein issue is far from dead. The Oversight Committee will continue getting more evidence in their hands. They are set to speak with former officials in the coming weeks. And recent polling shows this...
Just take it easy with your lively energy. Just take it easy with your vibrance. You're just zest for life, Marsha. It's too much for us. Your brilliance that you're emitting here with and then
This is what the American people want. Answers. Quinnipiac poll finds that 7 out of 10 voters are following news about the Epstein files either very or somewhat closely.
So that's it right here. That's a huge number. That's almost 30%, and somewhat closely 43%. So these people are all interested in this. So that's a huge amount of number, right? It's 70%. 70% of the people are like, they're hooked. And it's not going to get any less hooked because there's just information, like there's so much information about this out there. And we know how people got hooked into the Epstein thing. Many of you got hooked into it. It's very, it's like a kind of scandal that you would see in a movie or TV series on Netflix or something that would be very, would captivate people. And so there's lots of information here, and it's about celebrities and politics and islands and fucking Mossad and all that shit, right? And now the president. So, this is like a plot where they get something on the president and they manipulate him, in this case Israel. I mean, so it's bad. Like, that's fucking bad. And they want answers that they're not going to get. They're not going to be satisfied because we already know. The satisfaction of this would be like, you're fucked, the government's corrupt, and everyone's a piece of shit. So, like, they can't say that, right? But, these poll numbers are bad.
73% believe the United States Department of Justice is not being transparent in the way.
And so somebody else said that it was 80% think Trump's hiding something. So
it is handling the investigation into Jeffrey Epstein.
That's a huge number. Like, Trump's fucked. He's underwater here.
Donald Trump may want this to remain a dead issue, but Democrats and a few Republicans now are making sure it stays very alive. It's where we start.
Just speaking of being alive, you're just so alive, Marsha. Marsha, you're just so, I'm very alive. And so, Okay, so this is a part I saw. Marsha Wallace said that she's the one who said it's the majority of Americans are saying Donald Trump has something to hide, or maybe it's somebody else. But this, I didn't watch this, but I saw maybe the end of it. There's more information about this here now.
Last night by Democrats on the House Oversight Committee, a reference to Donald Trump in the now infamous Jeffrey Epstein birthday book. Take a look at this. The Wall Street Journal is reporting that it is a note from Mar-a-Lago member and businessman Joel Pashkow. It shows a poster board size check for $22,500 from Donald Trump to Jeffrey Epstein. A woman's face is redacted in the image. Below the photo is a note. That note reads, quote, Jeffrey showing early talents with money plus women sells fully depreciated, name of the woman redacted, to Donald Trump for $22,500. The Wall Street Journal reports this, quote, the woman, a wealthy European then in her 20s, severed all ties with Epstein around 1997 and had no romantic relationship with either Epstein or Trump, her lawyer said. The lawyer added that she doesn't know Pashkow and has no knowledge of the letter naming her, which she called, quote, a disgusting and deeply disturbing hoax.
It's a hoax.
Pashkow did not respond to a request for comment from NBC News. His letter, though, raises more questions about how much people in Jeffrey Epstein's orbit, including Donald Trump, knew about what he was doing. And it's the kind of thing that makes Team Trump's spin looks increasingly unsustainable and ridiculous. This morning, Donald Trump told NBC's Garrett Haake that the birthday letter to Jeffrey Epstein that he allegedly wrote was a, quote, dead issue. But it is difficult, if not impossible, to claim that something is a dead issue when every day seems to bring about new revelations that enhance our understanding of the ties and the nature of the relationship between Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump. Survivors are still asking for transparency as well, and solid majorities of Americans, including a majority of Republicans, believe that Donald Trump is hiding something. It is also not a hoax, as Trump continues.
Okay, someone said it was 80% yesterday. I don't know who it was. But, at least 70% thinks it's a hoax. And so, think it's, of course he's hiding something. He's fucking obviously, you have to be really brain dead to think he's not. Or completely, you don't want to hear the news. And so, there are people who are just so dumb and so Trumpy, and they're just so, dumb in the sense that they're completely closed down to any new information, and you can't talk to such people, right? And we've all experienced that. And for this issue, they're riding with Trump, and there's nothing that's going to stop that. But that's 20% of the people now. That's only 20%. So that's all Trump has. He wouldn't have got elected if they had exposed this stuff earlier, like I said, and all this stuff. So I'm going to cover the Qatar stuff tomorrow. The pie face lesbian dude has let's watch this here. Then we'll go to I want to go a little bit of Don Lemons.
It called Murdoch personally to try to get the story killed before it was published. Trump then, after it was published, sued the Wall Street Journal and its owner Rupert Murdoch for the tidy sum of $10 billion with a B dollars, claiming the letter didn't exist. They literally said that in their filing of the lawsuit. No such letter. I don't know about you guys, but it always seemed pretty implausible to me that knowing exactly what the stakes were, knowing they would be sued probably for billions of dollars, the Wall Street Journal would publish that story unless they were pretty damn sure the book and the letter existed. And of course, it did. It belonged to the estate of the since deceased Jeffrey Epstein, which handed it over to Congress. And the Democrats posted the entire book online with redactions. And I want to show you some of that book. But first, I have to warn you, all of this is incredibly disturbing, even like disgusting, viscerally, physically repelling content.
Thanks for the warning, face lesbian dude with the no mouth.
Here's a pencil and marker drawing on one page. On the left, an image labeled 1983 that appears to show Epstein giving candy and balloons to little girls.
Holy shit.
On the right, another image of a group of girls.
Same girls.
The same ones, maybe a new crop in 2003. Massage.
Look, there's an island and there's a fucking plane. I didn't know. I hadn't watched this. Holy shit. Unfucking believable. All right, so I had to show this to my wife. It's so fucking creepy. I had no idea.
An unclothed Epstein above the caption, "What a great country," with
Look, this girl's servicing him. She's like, this is Jesus.
Mar-a-Lago seemingly in the background.
Holy shit, that's Mar-a-Lago. Holy fuck. This is bad. It's fucking horrible. Oh my God, like fucking just so bad. Like I didn't know it's Mar-a-Lago. I thought it was Epstein Island.
There's actually an entire section of the Epstein book labeled Children. It includes redacted photos of a prepubescent girl in pajamas posing and playing the piano, as well as a hand-drawn picture of a wedding with the childlike inscription, "Here comes the bride, all dressed in white. Where is the groom? He's in the ladies' room." There's a series of dirty limericks on page 164, including one that ends with this quote. Listen to this one. "Jeffrey at half a century, with credentials plenipotentiary, though up to no good whenever he could, has avoided the penitentiary." Ha ha ha. Big laughs, big guffaws. On the very next page is Donald Trump's message to his buddy Jeffrey Epstein, the guy that he spent a lot of time with. And it is, you'll be shocked to hear, exactly, precisely as the Wall Street Journal described. Typewritten lines about enigmas and wonderful secrets inside the silhouette of a naked girl, more than a woman, frankly. And the future president's signature below her waist, kind of mimicking pubic hair. There's also this letter to Epstein from another Mar-a-Lago member. According to reporting by the Journal, it's a crude joke about a woman that Epstein and Trump both courted in the 1990s. It includes a photo of a novelty check made out from Epstein to Trump. Beneath it is this caption, "Jeffrey showing early talents with money and women, sells fully depreciated woman to Donald Trump for $22,500. Depreciated. Get the joke there, right? The woman's name is redacted in the image. Spend just a little bit of time looking at this, and you can. It's online. And, well, it's very, very hard not to be, like, physically disgusted. And it's very, very hard not to come to the...
Okay, bro. Just lay it on fucking thick. But that photo is so damning. It is the worst of the worst. And the fact that somebody drew in Mar-a-Lago as a part of it, and the Epstein Lolita Express and all that shit, that cartoon thing that was drawn. I mean, that's the worst of the worst. That's so fucking bad. I mean, and again, why isn't that on all these reports? Like, that's the first time I'm seeing it. I almost didn't watch this. I'm not going to watch 10 of these reports. They all say the same thing. And so I knew the Marsha Wallace thing, she got into the statistics, so I showed you that. But her and Aaron Burnett had very similar reports. And maybe there's a detail here. It's based in, which one I use. And so I saw this one, and I'm like, I was just about to X out of it because I'm like, I want to move on to Don Lemons. And then, that should be the damning photo, because that's a photo where somebody who isn't denying that that's in the book and that happened, is, and Trump can't call it a hoax or he didn't do it, because he didn't do it. Somebody else drew a picture. Let's go back to that thing. This with him giving candy and younger Jeffrey Epstein, and he was worked as a teacher, so he's giving candy and balloons to little girls. I mean, clearly what this implies is glorifying pedophilia. You want some candy, little girl, right? That's a fucking saying, and so that's glorifying him. He's in jeans. He's like a younger guy, and then these women, some of them small, like the ones in the back, are very small and young, and he's naked getting a massage, which is his whole thing. And then Mar-a-Lago and Lolita Express all being in that. And it says the greatest country. I guess on the bottom it says the greatest country. And so, century? I don't know. Country. And so, this is saying that this is okay. It's tied to Trump with Mar-a-Lago being there. And so the person writing this, he's saying all this behavior is okay, and Trump is involved because it's happening in Mar-a-Lago. I thought this was Epstein Island, but if he says it looks like Mar-a-Lago, then it does look like Mar-a-Lago. So, fucking brutal, right? And again, Trump ain't going to jail, and he's probably not going to be impeached for this. But this is where, I don't know how you walk this back, right? It's fucking bad. And, it'd be interesting to hear what Tucker Carlson, Joe Rogan, and Candace Owens say about these things. But Trump is completely, he's complicit in this, and he partook. There's no doubt about it. And we kind of knew that the whole time. But now, he's tied to this thing. I said this in the beginning. They're not going to get Mossad. They're not going to get Bill Clinton. They're going to go after Trump. And it's 100% about Trump because he's a fucking president. And he was Jeffrey Epstein's bestie. And it's just, it's all of those things. It does say what a country there. Just all of those things. And so with the Elitist Express coming down to Mar-a-Lago, holy shit. Like it's so bad for Trump because it's just, this is a third party involving like just the pedo stuff, making it like it's just normal and great. What a country, right? That's what some Trump would say. And then, Lolita Express being in the photo where Jeffrey Epstein is getting massages, and that's what this whole thing was about, was some massages. That's what that girl said. The one who was Epstein, the one who was with Prince Andrew. It's all about giving Jeffrey Epstein, happy ending massages. That's what all this stuff is about. And so he's doing it with Mar-a-Lago in the background, with Lolita Express in the background. It's just like, tying Trump to him. Like whoever's doing this, it's like, yeah, this is all, and so they're all Mar-a-Lago people, right? It's like where all this stuff was going down. Trump said that they were recruiting girls from Mar-a-Lago. And that's why he ditched Jeffrey Epstein. Because Ghislaine Maxwell was hiring people from Mar-a-Lago. That's why he said he broke with them. Not because this other stuff was happening, because they were all on board with it, right? And so, again, the guilt has been there all along. Jeffrey Epstein died under Trump's watch. And, 20 years, terrific guy. All the things Trump said, all the things Trump's been accused of by women, grab him by the pussy, all the things that Trump has said. The evidence is overwhelming. I show, my whole clip that I could, it's an hour long of all these, a compilation of all the ways that Trump is guilty. He's guilty. Like you only need one thing to expose, he's exposing what's inside of him. And Trump has exposed over and over again, cheating on his wives, being with a porn star, paying her off, right? All the things. All the things he said, all the things he's done, walking into the dressing room of Miss Teen USA when they were half naked and saying he gets to because he's the owner. That's a crime. It's a felony. He's done all these things over the years. And so, like, this is, this is, you don't need any more information. He's guilty. Like, you can't put him to jail. I don't know if you could or not, based on what they have. But that's not what's important here. What's important is that everyone knows he's a piece of shit. That he and Jeffrey Epstein were perv bros. And that this is, and it's not getting less information. I mean, Trump's incriminating himself just like when he said he could just walk up to grab women by the pussy because he's an elitist celebrity billionaire. That should have told all these dumb fucking Trumpers he's not one of you. Like, right-wing conservative Christian Republicans who want to protect their daughters from creeps like Donald Trump, these elitist creeps who abuse them, and creeps like Jeffrey Epstein. And Trump admitted what he thought he was and what privileges he had. And then he gave that deposition in that that one case, and he was asked about the grab by the pussy. He said, fortunately or unfortunately, it's the truth. That when you're a celebrity, you have that privilege. What's fortunate about that, you piece of shit, right? And so, he's guilty as fuck. And that's all you need to know, right? Like, I mean, that's, that Trump is an Epstein person. And then, someone who's depraved that way and is willing to wreck young girls' lives and do these things can't be trusted in any other sphere of activity because he's a depraved person. People who have these kind of addictions, sexual addictions and these things, any kind of addiction, you can't be trusted, right? People who are addicted because they have a weakness that can be exploited. You can't be a good leader and have these addictions because anybody can come along and exploit the addiction. And also, you end up being owned by people that have provided the addiction for you. Drug dealers, pedo brokers, human traffickers like Jeffrey Epstein, who's connected to Mossad. And it's no secret that Trump is, like, as Benjamin Netanyahu said, the greatest friend Israel has ever had in the White House. And these things, for a guy who said negative thing about Jewish people, which Trump did over the years, who had some kind of, issue there, he's clearly owned by Israel. Anyways, let's go to Don Lemon's here. Okay, so I think Don Lemon is hiring actors. He does this horrible man on the street stuff. I mean, all of his stuff is bad. He rips off, existing things that are out there, the existing bits that are out there. And it seems like there's two people. I just watched two of these. There's a bunch more I have to go through at some point. This thing with, when this thing goes down, starts to fade a little bit with Trump, I'll tune back into Don Lemon. I just want to show you these two things and then move on for the, rest of my day here. But, watch this guy, how fake this guy is here.
Are you?
Don Lemon.
You're a fucking moron, dude.
Thank you. So are you.
Except you've never heard anything I've had to say, and I've heard a whole bunch of what you.
I'm glad you watched me.
No, I don't.
You said you don't watch me, but yet you know who I am.
I think they edited out the part where before Don Lemon called him a moron back, right?
CNN and MSNBC were full of shit. Every once in a while, I'd see
What do you watch?
talking. I watch all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, but why do you say CNN and MSNBC are full of shit?
Because they lie. They lie about genocide. It
Calling
was
it.
obvious what it was on about October 17th.
That it was genocide?
Yeah.
You said they lied about genocide, that it wasn't genocide. I thought you were saying that it wasn't genocide.
No. They lied that it was. Yeah, they lied that it wasn't. That's why I said you're a moron to begin with.
Why would you call me a moron?
So he tried to call him back a moron, but he forgot his line. And then, so watch this. He said, he was going to go, you're a fucking moron, but then he realized
it wasn't genocide.
No. They lied that it was. Yeah, they lied that it wasn't. That's why I said you're a moron to begin with.
Why would you call me a moron? Because you are a right wing
because
crazy.
You're big and think that you're something, man.
I'm supposed to not think that I'm anything. What are you talking about?
You're welcome to think that you're something, but
and what do you think you are?
Oh, I'm just me.
But why would you insult? Why would you insult people like that?
It's not an
I
insult.
wouldn't dare ever walk up to someone on the street and call them an idiot. Not unless I had like a terrible self-respect and I wanted to like lash out at someone because I felt bad about myself or that I didn't accomplish enough.
Okay, so he called people idiots all the time. On CNN, like he called people. I mean, he was just calling Marjorie Taylor Greene really stupid, right? And I'll show you that, and I'll show you the meme.
I think we have to stop coddling people
when it comes to this and the vaccine, saying, oh, you can't shame them. You can't call them stupid. You can't call them silly. Yes, they are. The people who aided and abetted Trump are stupid because they believed his big lie. The people who are not getting vaccines, who are believing the lies on the internet instead of science, it's time to start shaming them. What else? Or leave them behind. Because they are keeping the majority of Americans behind. Or a liar. Watch this.
Laura Loomer is another one that has relentless attacked me.
Pause,
Many
please.
other American.
Oh my God, this relentless. Is that even a word? I mean, he loves the poorly educated. It's obvious. I mean, come on. Marjorie Taylor Greene, not the sharpest knife in the drawer. Not the sharpest bowling ball in the alley. I know that doesn't make sense, but that's why I'm saying it.
No, that's not what you're saying. You just don't know. You're just babbling and you suck at this job.
Relentless. Play it back from the beginning. Here it is.
Laura Loomer is another one that has relentless attacked me. Many other America First Republicans like Matt Gaetz and many other members of Congress. As a matter of fact, the only people she attacks are Republicans. And Laura Loomer touts herself as, basically testing everyone for loyalty.
Right. So, like he's constantly, he didn't call her names there, but he's, he does this all the time. Okay, so I searched his channel and searched for idiot. And I found numerous, the first 3 videos he's calling people, he just does this all the time. He calls people various names.
With the Atlantic and Yemen, because it really is a you-know-what show. This makes me really, really concerned about our country, really, really concerned.
This is when, they invited that reporter into the Signal conversation.
About the people who are in charge of our country. I'd like to briefly read this. This is from a Wikipedia page, okay? And it is a page for idiot plot. In literary criticism, an idiot plot is one which is kept in motion solely by virtue of the fact that everybody involved is an idiot, and where the story would quickly end or possibly not happen if this were not the case. That's what an idiot plot is. I hate to call people names, but they really are idiots.
Boom. He hates to call people names, but, he does all the fucking time, right? And oftentimes wrongly. Like what he did with the anti-vaxxers was the worst of the worst.
Smile, you just effed around and found out. Dun, 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 dun. Dummies. 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 Let's go now. Everybody, shall we?
So he's calling people dummies there. I forget what this was about. Some stupid thing here. Here.
Because they are fighting for issues that don't resonate many times.
This something had to do with some bathroom fucking issue. So here is this one.
About 2 days that they can run their farms. And then after that, it's over. Oh my gosh, I love this. Now you're finding out, you dumb fucking idiots. Now you're just figuring this shit out. You're so fucking stupid and you deserve it. You fucking deserve it because you're so dumb. Jim, it's hypocrisy. So go with me here. Yes, I am gloating over your stupidity and how you were taken. I'm cackling in Kamala, says in Shanta. You have been co-opted because you're in a fucking cult and you don't even realize it because you have stupid MAGA brain and you don't get it. How stupid and dumb are you? And I'm just going to I can't wait to go through this. Okay. So I'm going to read this again. So Krishnan's appointment.
Okay. So this is about immigration and how there will be these MAGA farmers won't be able to run their farms when Trump does his immigration thing. Which, is true, but didn't turn out the way Don Lemon said. But, we see that he likes to call people. I mean, pretty much every time I've seen something from him, he's calling MAGA people and, they're in one way or another inferring it or straight out saying they're calling them dummies, idiots, and things like this, right? So the reason I say this guy's an actor, we'll talk about that in a moment. This guy comes out of nowhere and just calls him a moron. And what I think Don Lemon's trying to do here is show how calm he is and how he doesn't call names and how he takes the high road. But we know he calls names, and we know he's told to shame people like vaxxers and anti-vaxxers, and he's always on the wrong side of these on top of it. But he's really stupid, and he calls other people stupid all the time. He's constantly talking about how stupid these other people are. And he goes to call this guy a fucking moron, but then he stops. So.
Would you call me a moron? Because you lied about genocide, that it wasn't genocide. I thought you were saying that it wasn't genocide.
No. They lied that it was. Yeah, they lied that it wasn't. That's why I said you're a moron to begin with.
Why would you call me a moron? Because you are a right-wing
because you're big and think that you're something, man.
I'm supposed to not think that I'm anything? What are you talking about?
You're welcome to think that you're something, but
what do you think you are?
Oh, I'm just me.
But why would you insult? Why would you insult people like that? I wouldn't dare ever walk up to someone on the street and call them an idiot. Not unless I had like a terrible self-respect and I wanted to like lash out at someone because I felt bad about myself.
Yeah, that's why you're always calling people idiots, because you're really stupid. But the thing is, like, there are people who call names to people. There's people that say it behind closed doors, right? There's lots of people who, they have their performance, their good guy persona, and then behind closed doors they call people idiots and things like this, right? Or whatever names, horrible names, racial slurs, whatever. There's people who pretend to be one way outside of the public, and behind closed doors, in their personal life, they're something different. Then there's people who are really nice, want to be nice. Maybe they're not nice inside. Maybe they're covering something up. Who's to say? In the Sajmark system, the idea is that if you have a soft heart, you usually have a grumpy exterior, because you need defense against your soft heart. And so you develop it's like the difference between a like a they say, like, for example, like a coconut has a hard shell, but it has a very soft liquid interior, right? The coconut itself and the coconut milk. Whereas a avocado has a very soft exterior, but a very hard seed, right? So you have like these, that's how it's the metaphor for it. And so, but everyone has their thing. And, my thing is just to be honest and be who you are, right? And so he's saying he wouldn't go up to anybody on the street and calling people idiots. And I'm sure I can find clips of him arguing with people. But he does it all the time on his show. And so he's... But this guy seems like he's just a... like he's almost like when Jussie Smollett said the MAGA guys came up and called him a couple of racial slur and a homophobic slur, and then said this is MAGA country. Some imaginary villains that don't exist on the streets of Chicago. And this guy seems like he's an actor who's Don Lemons is trying to use as how he's putting down a MAGA person. This guy's not MAGA, right? He's British, and he's, it just seems like it's fake as fuck here.
That I didn't accomplish enough. I would never walk up to someone and belittle them unless there was something that's wrong with me that I need some therapy about. Because you didn't accomplish much with your life, it doesn't mean that you have to insult me. You said...
So they edited out what he said.
I know you, and I said I'm Donald, and you said, yes, you're a moron. You get clipped all the time, and I don't watch you. But that doesn't make sense, because you say I get clipped all the time, so you must watch me. So you're not making any sense.
Is that not making any sense?
No, because then you wouldn't know who I am if you didn't watch me. Yet you know.
Know what?
Yet you know who I am.
Yeah.
And you watch the clips.
Yeah.
And in order to know their nonsense, it means you would have to watch them.
Okay, so what?
Okay, but you're saying you don't. You have an issue that you have to insult other people in order to feel better about yourself. Hold on. All you know about me.
You were just about to call him a fucking moron, Don, and you stopped yourself because you're for the script.
Is what you see, a clip of me that somebody else put up or that I put up, and so you don't really watch. If you don't really watch me, you don't know me.
Don.
Anyway, nice to meet you.
Go find a library.
Boom. He thinks he rocked that. He thinks he rocked it. Look at him. Like you were calling that guy an idiot and putting him down, saying that he hadn't accomplished much in his life, and that that he was a loser, and had to call you names and you don't call people names because you're accomplished. Like you scammed CNN out of $20 million by sucking so bad they had to fire you. And now you're scamming these people pretending that you're alternative media when you're just waiting for the non-compete clause to end so you can get a job back on one of these shitty little networks. Okay, so then there was this.
So what do you think about the state of the world right now?
Not great. Definitely not great. But I mean, what you're doing is like amazing. I think it's so cool that journalists are like breaking off to kind of do things separately from what the networks are kind of pushing for.
Okay, so you're making it sound like he did that intentionally. And so Don Lemon was in one of the prime spots competing against Rachel Maddow. And Rachel Maddow was killing him, right? So, she was MSNBC's big star. And he was benefiting from Chris Cuomo's show. Because Chris Cuomo was CNN's #1 show. And Chris Cuomo, think about that. So Chris Cuomo would lead into his show. They do this thing called the handoff. And, when Chris Cuomo would come on Don Lemon's show for a few minutes. And then they would, Don Lemon, when Chris Cuomo was fired, Don Lemon's ratings plummeted. And then everyone kind of got over Trump thing, and, Trump was out and Biden was in. So Don Lemon's, and he just became more and more idiotic and said stupid shit. And the network was, kind of bummed. And so then they said, all right, Don, look, you can go be on the morning show. And he said, well, it's a promotion. He said they came to him and said, we want a really strong morning show, Don. So they took him out at prime time and put him on early morning, which gets like half the viewers of the primetime show, and it's not the desired young people and whatever. And they said things that made his women co-hosts cringe, things that would be considered, derogatory towards women. And then he got into it with Vivek Ramaswamy and got into these. He just made himself look like a fool. And the ratings, again, sucked. Because, other than people watching it to mock it, it was by far the worst morning show because Don Lemon was on. He's by far the worst guy in all these. Maybe Brian Stelter, but at least Brian Stelter's not an idiot. And, and so Tony O'Sullivan, of all the people, Don Lemon's is the most clueless, the dumbest, the one with the lowest ability to self-perceive. And so they fired him, but paid him $20 million, and then he has a non-compete clause. And then he started a network show. He tried to do it with Elon Musk, where he wore a suit and tie and was behind a desk. So he's just basically trying to take his shitty show that wasn't going anywhere, and put it on the, and put it on the internet. Remember, he failed in that Elon Musk interview. Like he played himself and made himself look so stupid. Elon Musk, and he demanded so much money and like one of those crappy Tesla trucks. And so then he started to realize, he said, you guys seem to like it when I'm just in my living room. So then he just started to do this casual type of thing. He literally said those words. I guess you guys like it better when I'm informal. Yeah, that's what the internet's all about. And he started to do these things, copying other people, doing podcast-like things and, man on the street things. But it's all because he's got a non-compete clause, and if CNN or MSNBC offered him a job, he would run to it. And they may do that, or he might go to one of these lesser networks. But if they offer him a job, he'll run to it because he's not an independent person. And he doesn't say anything independently, right? So this is, why would this person be saying these things? It seems like scripted lines here, right? Because,
What you're doing is like amazing. I think it's so cool that journalists are like breaking off to kind of do things separately from what the networks are kind of pushing for. So my colleague and I at 60 Minutes left a year ago, and we started our own news podcast, and you're very inspirational to us. So
Really? Yeah. Oh my gosh, thank you. The weird thing is, I don't know what's happening with journalism. CBS reportedly made a deal with Donald Trump not to show the booze or broadcast the booze at the U.S. Open when he arrived today.
Oh, I didn't hear about that. I don't know what's going on with CBS. Did you see that they're in deals to like buy the free press?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what's happening.
There seems to be a shift.
There seems to be a shift.
What is it?
Towards the right at CBS.
Do you like the free press?
No. How do you like doing your own thing?
I love doing my own thing.
Yeah.
Funny thing is, like, oh my God, people say, when are you going to get another job in television? I'm like, I don't want another job in television.
Yeah, we'll see when that happens.
Yeah.
I don't think people understand that.
No, it seems like everyone is leaving, and hopefully there's like a better infrastructure in place for independent journalists to like actually make money and like do things and have support.
He's not wearing his merch. Maybe he could tell his merch here. He's got his DL microphone. I'm wondering if he's not wearing his merch anymore. We'll notice it as we cover him. This is all I'm going to cover today. But these seem kind of like, scripted interviews. Let's wrap this one up here.
So what do you...
Yeah. Anyways, we'll see if he's not wearing his merch, and that would be kind of suspicious since I always make fun of him for wearing his merch. So, but anyways, that's Don Lemon. I'll come back and see what Don Lemon has to say about all the Epstein stuff. I don't feel like it today, but, hopefully I'll have more time. Because it's just gold. His inability to self-perceive and how embarrassing he is. And, it's just an amazing thing in terms of, comedy gold. So there's two more things I want to show you this, right? So this guy appears to just be walking by Don Lemon's. It seems staged as fuck. Watch this.
You? Don Lemon.
You're a fucking moron, dude.
Thank you. So are you.
Thank you. So are you. Somehow I didn't get that the first time. That was what I saw so he says you're a moron, and then thank you. So are you. But then he goes and says, I would just never walk up and say anything like that to somebody, right? But it's so Trumpian. Don Lemon is a Trump person, right? He's a narcissist, and this is what narcissists do. But the way the guy just walked up on him, here they are shaking hands. It was just, there was that. Then the second thing, which I missed here. See, sometimes somebody says something like this first part, and I want to comment on that. Then I might miss something subtle.
Like breaking off to kind of do things separately from what the networks are kind of pushing for. So my colleague and I at 60 Minutes left a year ago, and we started our own news podcast. And
so my colleague and I, then their colleague comes in here at the end, right? This guy here. And so they left 60 Minutes, which they're kind of talking about CBS filling out to Trump. Like somehow they've been compromised, but they weren't compromised before. They had great integrity there at CBS and 60 Minutes and all these mainstream media and CNN. Then Trump got elected, and then they all got compromised, right? Like they were above board. They were really doing great journalism, but then Trump got elected, and they all, sold out. It's silly, right? But she's, plugging her thing here. So I don't know if Don Lemon's in on it, but certainly this is working out well for them because they're getting a chance to, go out there and tell people that they have their own bullshit thing going on. So this picture shows that this was an open secret. The part of it that obsessed people, whether they realize it or not, is that these motherfuckers, all the Jeffrey Epstein people, they knew about this. It wasn't like something that just happened in his, back room, and him and Ghislaine Maxwell knew about it. Like, all these people knew about it because they're all in on it, right? This is what we not discovered, like we kind of knew it, but, you see Woody Allen hanging out with Roman Polanski. Roman Polanski made Rosemary's Daughter with Woody Allen's ex-wife, Mia Farrow. She played the mother of the Antichrist, right? And Roman Polanski raped a 13-year-old girl and was kicked out of America. And all these people were like, no, let him back in. He's a genius, right? And Woody Allen dated a 16-year-old girl. The woman came out and said that she was the inspiration for the movie he made with Mariel Hemingway, where a Woody Allen character, dates an 18-year-old girl who was played by a 15-year-old girl. And Mariel Hemingway's first ever kiss, not screen kiss, but in terms of being kissed by a man, was when she made, or whatever Woody Allen is, was when she made out with Woody Allen. And all these people were then Woody Allen marries his wife's adoptive daughter, and they were living together as a family. The girl was 10 years old when Woody Allen came into her life. And Mia Farrow's daughter also claimed Woody Allen sexually abused her. So Woody Allen then said it works, the dynamic between her and him and this 18-year-old girl. As soon as this girl turned 18, they married. So you know that they were having sex and they were romantic before then. And he said that she likes to be fathered and he gets to be paternal with her, and it works because he likes it and she likes it. And so all these people defended Woody Allen. You know, Woody Allen's a piece of shit. His movies suck and he's a weird fucking guy. Alec Baldwin defended him amongst other people, right? And none of these people were, oh, let's shame Woody Allen in private. You know, I didn't hear any of them criticize Woody Allen, but, you know, they just accept this kind of, you know, this has been around with the royal family and these people who have a totally different morality. And we saw it when this, the gender stuff came out, the transgender stuff, all these things. And this was all Hollywood morality that was around the modeling world and, you know, these people that are into this decadent lifestyle. And they finally admitted to it and tried to get everyone else to be a part of it. They tried to get common folk to accept this, you know, this decadent lifestyle. And we who, you know, do this stuff here, you know, whatever, we as viewers and as researchers, we've known about this for years, the Eyes Wide Shut movie, all these things, that there are deviant sexual behaviors and other deviant behaviors of, you know, I mean, just killing people, hunting people, whatever it might be. That's gone on for thousands of years, where the people who are so-called elite treat other people like they're cattle, like they're livestock. And they live with a different set of rules. And this picture shows you that these Epstein people all were in on it. Donald Trump's, you know, the two things that he's a part, the part that he's involved in the book, his thing, and that other Czech thing that references him. And then this other cartoon where everybody who would be in the book and would look at the book would know exactly what they're talking about. That Jeffrey Epstein was getting, you know, offering candy to little girls to lure them into, massage him as, you know, older. And even if they were not underage, it was still sexually abusive. You know, these women who were, I mean, that they was coercing. He was paying them to service him sexually, which is prostitution. And they felt intimidated, and whatever reason they went along with it, you know, it's a fucked up thing, right? So this shows you that this cartoon, more than anything else, shows you how fucked up everything is. Like, it's just there for everyone to see, right in your fucking face. And what's going to happen? I mean, it's been confirmed over and over again. You know, Jeffrey Epstein got a deal in which everybody who was associated with him was given immunity. You know, so he went to jail, a fake jail, for 2 years, and where he was able to go home and, you know, and work from his home office. And so he got this amazing deal. And on top of that part, everyone who was involved with him was supposed to be free of any sort of prosecution. And so, like, that's how fucked up this thing is, which everyone knows by now. And Trump is in on it. He's totally in on it. And, like, Trump knew and accepted it. Trump was okay. Let's say the minimum, the bare minimum is Trump was okay with Jeffrey Epstein sexually abusing 15, 16, 17-year-old girls. He said Jeffrey Epstein liked him on the young side, and Trump liked him on the young side, so Trump meant, you know, that Jeffrey Epstein liked him younger than Trump liked him. And Trump has, you know, stated that he was attracted to 16-year-old girls and his daughter, so, you know, he has a lot of pervy shit, right? So Trump knew about Jeffrey Epstein, totally okay with it, and that's enough for this guy to get run out of town. And you see how far we're degraded, because there's enough evidence here to bury this motherfucker to where all the Republicans would be like, let's distance ourselves from this motherfucking guy. But they're out there lying for him. As he imposes martial law and does all this other shit, Israel is doing whatever the fuck they want. You know, the world's in complete chaos, like the year of the chaos I've talked about. And so nothing says that like this, because nothing's going to come of this. I mean, it's right in your face. They're going to release all these documents, and the guy obviously had, you know, support from big-time people, which was Mossad, and it doesn't fucking matter. He's going to fucking get away. You know, the people that are around him are going to get away with it. It's never going to be, you know, the truth is never going to come out. Not the way that people want it to. I mean, it's coming out now, but not in a way that's satisfying and, like, you know, what you would call, like, even the minimal amount of justice. And the reason you can tell is when Aaron Burnett and the pie-faced lesbian dude and the the other Marshall Wallace and these people talk about it, they always go, there's no crimes here. Trump's not being charged with any crimes. We're not saying that, they always do this qualifying shit, right? When it's obvious that this was well known, Jeffrey Epstein, everyone knew what he was doing, and they were either complicit or partaking or both, and all these people. And it just, all of them should be at least like canceled. I mean, if you think about the Me Too stuff, the stuff that canceled Louis C.K. and some of these other people, it's mild compared to what we're talking about with Jeffrey Epstein and these people. And he's totally going to get away with it, right? And so, not Jeffrey Epstein, but his whole crew and Trump and the rest of them. So, get away with it in terms of it's going to do minimum damage to them. And that's when you know that the moral integrity of your society has collapsed. And not only is Trump, he's going to do whatever he wants to do until the Democrats win back the House and the Senate, and then we'll see what happens. But Trump's going to just, he's taking a sledgehammer to what America was. And, the debt keeps on increasing, and they're moving more wealth to the elite. And then he could just be blamed. He'll die maybe a few years out. He could die while he's in office. He's already got severe health issues, and he's old. He's already past, the average lifespan. And so, he's going to decline, and whatever happens to him, and then it'll just be like, well, that was Trump's fault, and you guys are screwed because Trump's screwed, and you guys elected him. So, that's where they're going with this. Anyways, probably be more tomorrow. Only spirituality will save this world. It's paramount, definitely pointing to the apocalypse and the ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.